Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm Deborah Mallow. I'm a positive energy expert and coach, and I'm creator of the Daily Decisions and the Daily Decisions Positive Energy Club, self improvement essentials to reinforce positive habits. TheDailyDecisions.com. And I'm the author of the book Six Steps to Fewer Days That Suck. And I am so excited to be on Kim's show. What a lovely person. What a lovely heart. It gave me a warm hug to be here. And we talked about all the things that we all need as humans to get over ourselves, to build confidence, to build a positive mindset, to have gratitude, to be happier, to help other people. We just inspired everyone, I hope. And I just send everyone warm hugs. And thank you, Kim, for being the most gracious, the most wonderful, she didn't pay me to say this, fabulous host and asking such thoughtful questions. We connected on so many levels. I'm not going to tell you, you have to listen. Hooray! Nice to meet you. I'm Deborah Mallow.
Welcome to the show. I am Kim Sorrell, and I'm here to bring inspiration, motivation, and any kind of Asian that is good and positive into your life. And today is no different. One of the things I get to do, besides speak and coach and the things that I do in life, I get to meet amazing people. And today is amazing Deborah Mallow. I love her. You're going to love her. She's all about positivity and inspiration. You're going to get so much of it today. Practical things that you can take away and do right now. And she's a tetherball champion. So here we go. Deborah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kim. Happy New Year, everybody, to a wonderful 2025. As they say, we're going to thrive in 25. That's
That's
the
right.
slogan I understand. So,
I know.
how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Now I'm thinking maybe I'll get that tattooed on my arm, but then it won't be 25 in a while. So maybe it's
In
not
your
a good
heart.
idea. That's right. Tattooed on my heart. Yeah, I am doing great. Deborah, your book is fantastic. I've read your book. It's so good and people should buy it. And we're going to talk about that. But I would love to get your background. I want people to get to know you. So tell me, what was life like when you were 8 years old?
Well, I grew up in the middle of what I think is everything. We're all partial to our homes. I grew up in Manhattan, New York, and it was really a thrill because, especially back in the day, our parents, all my friends too, as young children, we were able to roam the streets, take the public buses, go shopping in Bloomingdale's, and go to great restaurants, have ice cream sundaes. It was a lot of fun. And my parents are creative people, so I had a lot of creativity around me. They're fashion designers. Well, my dad has passed, but my mom is still there. And she started a business when that wasn't so common for women, manufacturing ladies' clothing. And then my dad joined her. So I have that inspiration that you can do anything, but it takes hard work. It's not dreaming and wishing, it's doing and doing and doing and figuring it out. As I say, I don't call failure, I call it education and growth.
I love that. Yes, it always is education and growth. It's growth if you let it be, right? Like
Yes.
you can go through something really hard and then you can kind of stay stuck
Yeah.
in that moment, right? Or you can grow and learn from it and then do better the next time or share with somebody who's going through the same thing, how you got through it. And there's so much opportunity even in the toughest of times, there ends up being a rainbow and opportunity to help people out. So I love that. I love that. Okay, so there's a story that I want you to share about
Okay.
summer camp and swimming.
Ah, yes, you read it. That was my in closing. And that stays with me forever because that was the first time at 10 years old when I was touched by intention manifestation. So, friends, I told you I went around the sit Manhattan and there was this great store, and my friend bought me a ring, a friendship ring that was silver, and it had a secret compartment. It was covered by a cat's eye, and I wore that ring. Loved it. So there I was swimming in Lake Plunkett, which I now found out is Reservoir Plunkett, but I still call it Lake Plunkett. That's what Google does. You find out all kinds of things. So, anyhow, I jumped into the lake, swimming, swimming, swimming. And then when I got out of the lake, I realized I had lost my ring. And yeah, not that I was in a real emotional kind of kid, but I would get have a little drama in my life now and again. And I got so sad. And I just kept thinking about that ring and hoping and wishing that somehow it would appear. But how is it going to appear at the bottom of a lake, in the sand and everything? It gets lost. Well, 2 days before the end of camp, as life has it, and I've lived my life this way after this experience, I dove down to the bottom of the lake when my hand touched the wet sand, and all of a sudden, I felt this ring. Well, I felt something. I didn't know it was the ring. I felt something, and lo and behold, it was the ring. And I
Mm.
remember that, I think back on that many times when we go through life, and we're these wonderful human beings. And as we grow and develop, sometimes we lose our kid-like happy qualities. But I remember this experience, and I let it bring me back to let me know that the courageous creator within me is always there. It's just a matter of not losing touch for anybody of what you want in life, who you really are authentically. As cliche as that word is, it's really important to use that word. So that touched me. And then in my life, I don't believe coincidences. I mean, I believe daily decisions determine destiny, yes, and you have to make decisions and be accountable. But I also believe there's something about the universe that sort of shapes us as well.
Oh, I think that's so true. There's, we're energy, right? I mean, you can feel in a room. So, you mentioned the creator within you. Yeah. I mean, I believe in God. I believe that we were created and we're created to be exactly who we're created to be. And, uh, but we're the ones that limit ourselves. Like you finding your ring. I mean, what are the odds? I mean, honestly, right? In a lake, in a reservoir to dive down and there it is. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
Hmm.
I had a situation like that with, an aunt, my great aunt, actually dove into the lake where my parents had a cottage with her glasses on, and
Ah,
she could not see without her glasses. She needed those glasses. And she dove in and she's like, oh no, my glasses, what am I going to do? And they were at the beginning of their vacation. And she was just so upset. She didn't know what she was going to do. Everybody was upset for her. Well, my husband jumped in the water and he went down a couple times and came up with glasses. And, the water's moving and there's dirt, sand, there's seaweed, there's whatever. And you think, "Guy, how can you find them?" And it was really deep. It was like, I think 14 feet, 17 feet deep or something like that. And so how can you find in the midst of all this in this huge area, find the glasses? But he found them. And I think sometimes people just don't dive in, don't go to the bottom of the water and feel around and just throw their hands up and go, well, I guess it's lost. But when you dive in, that's when really great things happen, right?
it's so true. I know you're also saying it as a metaphor to life because it really is. We are so capable of achieving so much. And so many people, as you said, limit themselves. And that is the reason I am doing what I'm doing, more to pay it forward to help people get unstuck, to find their courageous creator. That doesn't mean you have to be artistic. It just means that you are creating your life. You are touching other people. You are hopefully lifting others up and grateful for what you have and flow like the water. We flow with the good times and the bad times, but remembering from experiences like we just talked about that there's so many miracles or surprises for us out there. But if we don't take the chance, if we don't believe in ourselves, because I'm all about confidence, even if you don't feel it one day, it's pushing through it to know that you can do it, to believe in ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He believes in us. So we need to believe in ourselves, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So you had a lot of success in life. You started a business, you were a designer, you were doing all this stuff. And then you decided, I think I'll switch gears and go into sales because look at your personality. Of course, sales, you should do sales. And you were number one in the nation for a huge company for how long?
For Johnson and Johnson, for I worked for them for 17 years, and I'm very grateful. I needed to leave because I was burnt out, and that's a whole nother story. But I am so grateful for that job because who would think that an artist, I was a textile designer, licensed my designs to home furnishings, gift products. They're still on the internet. And now they're vintage, Deborah Mallow. I love it, vintage. But I just said, I took my way into that job. And I went from the Neutrogena, and then there were some prescription products to biotech. Now, if you don't need to be a scientist to do this, you just, as you said, you need drive because I managed my own territory. It was my job to make it grow or sink or whatever. And you just need to be patient and to understand people. Doctors, we're all the same. The doctors, their staff, everything. There are good days, there are bad days, and you have to know when. It's intuition too, to maneuver, to go in or to maybe say, not today. It's not the best day. And I did it, and I said, okay, I'll be number one. People said, nah, you can't do it. You don't know. Well, you know what? Don't tell me no, because I'm going to try. And I did, and it was really a great experience until I burnt myself out trying because I wasn't competing against anybody. I was competing against my record, not anybody else's. When you're at the top, well, you can either go down or you can stay up there. It's a choice. Life is a choice, right, Kim?
It is. It's such a choice. And sometimes it's harder to stay at the top than to get to the top. Right. So yeah, and then you shifted gears completely. You wrote this book that really you've been living this book. So you took the things that you've learned throughout the years and the different things you've done, and you put it into a book, the 6 steps.
To fewer days that suck.
I love it.
Because,
Yeah.
oh, because some days might feel like the pits. Well, some days aren't peachy and they might feel like the pits. That's what I said. I have a lot of cute little things in my book like that because the truth of the matter is I didn't write the book at first to put out there. I did it as my guidebook because I was so stuck, trying to strive, getting up at 3 in the morning to set my day, to then go out. If somebody would have a doctor would have breakfast with me, I'd be there at 6:30 in the morning before they started their day. Then in the evening, go when they were finishing their day and everything in between. And I just couldn't anymore. And my husband said to me, he's very supportive in his way. He said, "Why are you doing this to yourself?" And he said, "Keep going, get another script, keep winning this and that." He said, "But you're going to die doing it." And I said, Oh my God, that was my wake up call.
Mm.
And friends had read the guidebook, and I've since you read it, I've revised it a little, and smoothed it out and everything. I'm really excited about that. And I said, okay, I will try to help other people get unstuck. As my friends and colleagues read the book, they said, gosh, everybody goes through this stuff because it's not six steps as you think of it. I break it down, as you know, into the decision, ditch bad habits, the mindset, the action, the attitude, and then the commitment. And in between each are eight double pages of different things like walk away from negativity, or don't give in to intimidation, or happiness is our decision. So many like different things that we all think about. And then I made a commitment, and then questions, answers, mantras, activities, tips, and then at the end of each step is a summation and a line page, so we could all write, as I did, because I did it for myself. If you saw my notebook when I started this, the line page to write notes to yourself, aha moments, because we really need to reflect. We need to take a step back and not be so hard on ourselves. We all are trying to survive, and we get ourselves on this hamster wheel, and we're just in perpetual motion, but we're not taking care of ourselves and pushing ourselves to find our purpose and passion and really enjoy our lives. And that was my purpose for writing the book, Kim.
Yeah, and it is so good. It's practical. Like reading it, I'm like, well, I know that. I should know that. Why am I not doing that? And then other things that I'm like, oh, what a great idea. I should be doing things this way. And I think you're so right, and you start out with the decision because you do have to decide what kind of a life do you want? Do you want to be down and sad? I've said this before, but my husband was a pessimist and
Yes.
glass half empty kind of guy, and I'm an optimist and I'm glass half full, and I choose to be that way. I choose to see the world that way. He would say that he's a realist and that I live in La La Land. And I'm okay with La La Land. I like it here and I plan to stay here. And we're in it together. We're in La La Land together. And it's a decision, right? Because we all go through crap. We all have stuff that we go through, but you can decide how happy you want to be and how much you're going to let the outside world, including your family, your friends, whoever, affect your happiness. I choose to not let people take my happiness away because then that's on me if I'm letting them take my happiness away because I am in control of my happiness.
And
So
so would you say kudos? That is, and everybody out there. But please continue because I love listening to this.
yeah, well, I mean, it's exactly what you talk about is that you make a decision on how you want to live your life. And I thought it was interesting. I think it's very interesting that you mention your husband and having a conversation with him, and he's like, "Why are you doing this to yourself?" Sometimes I feel like we need permission from somebody to tell us it's okay to quit that job and do something else. It's okay to move on from whatever it is. And that permission can just free you up to do incredible things like you are doing now.
It really isn't. And I feel so blessed to be able to help others get unstuck. I think to me, I've been through the three chapters, design, then sales. I love them all. Don't get me wrong. It's just I had to learn to maneuver. Like, how am I going to stop myself from the rat race and making myself crazy while I do this because I'm an overachiever and maybe a little bit of a perfectionist, which I'm trying to get over. And actually enjoy every day. Even in tough times, when sad times, my mother broke her shoulder, I had to go flying down to help her. Different things are going to happen. But again, it's all about how we react. We can look, as you said, for a rainbow. I'm not saying that situations like when people die and everything, it's very sad. But we have to reflect on the wonderful times we had with them. And that's why it's so important to be present and accountable, to live with intention so that you can really enjoy those around you. When you're stuck, you're not good for anyone, really. You're stuck in your own little world. You're making yourself crazy, the circular thinking, all the things that humans do to themselves. We do it to ourselves. I mean, look at the news. People create all kinds of problems for themselves. And I think to myself, if they just thought about it for maybe a couple of minutes before they actually jumped in, they wouldn't be in the pickle they're in.
Right, right. It's so true. That's such a great point because so many things happen spur of the moment. And if you get beyond that moment, you might not have made that same decision. And so you talk about that in your book too, to just breathe, to just stop and breathe. In fact, you quote Barbara Cochran, who I love, and from Shark Tank.
I
And
know.
yeah, and from your city, and she's so
From my
great.
city.
Yeah, I just
Right
love
up
her.
the block on Madison Avenue. I pass by when I take a walk. I pass by her office. It's very bright, the colors. One day I'm gonna walk in.
Yeah,
One
you
day.
should. You
Maybe
should. You
be
should
thrown
tell her.
out, but anyhow,
Yeah,
you
tell her
please
she's in
go
the
on.
book. But the quote that you use of hers in your book, if you want to talk about that, it's so good.
What it is she says, and she was very, she has her insecurities and everything. What we see on the outside, like I said with Shakespeare's statement, all that glitters is not gold. Just because people might look like everything's peachy and hunky-dory, everybody has the same problems. So I was out to dinner with two of my really good friends, my artist friends, and I realized this is when I was working for J&J in sales. And I realized I forgot to do something for a customer. Now, I am the most responsible person you'd want to meet. And I'm sure you're very responsible too, extremely so. I take what I do for others to help them very seriously. So I said, "Oh my God, I forgot to do this. They needed it." And I don't know how this happened, but divine intervention or something. Barbara Corcoran's quote raced through my head. We have to stop the negative tape in our head. And it's up to us to, to stop that circular thinking, to stop putting ourselves down, to stop seeing ourselves as a failure or this or that, no matter how successful you are, like Barbara Corcoran. We all have the same things that we deal with because of human nature, because of the caveman brain, because of the negativity bias. We all look, we're programmed to look at negative and to feel the negative events over positive events. That's negativity bias. And also the fear and the worry and everything, that's also to protect us against animals rushing at us. Well, really, it's not gonna really happen. If it does, run, but otherwise. So we have to stop the negative thinking. The more we do it, the more it becomes habit. And again, habits, reinforcing positive habits is what I do. Self-improvement essentials to reinforce positive habits. That's the daily decisions in my positive energy club, because it's very important to take matters in our own hands and stop this circular thinking, stop the negative tape, as Barbara Corcoran so eloquently said. So I somehow did it. And I was present at the dinner, enjoying myself. And as I say that you read, it was a lesson in not sweating the small stuff, because we get ourselves crazy over things that, do they really matter in the long run? The doctor had no problem waiting till the next day. And I'm so glad I didn't make myself nuts, worrying and texting him and all that stuff. I just said, you know what? It'll all be okay. And if we say to ourselves it'll all be okay, guess what? It's going to all be okay.
Yeah, so true. And what a mind shift that is. I used to be that same person who would be out thinking about the 100 other things I should or could be doing right now, and being out with friends and just being distracted, just so many things going on in my mind, and having to learn, because it wasn't easy. I had to really practice being present, being in the moment, and being with who was right in front of me rather than thinking about who wasn't in front of me. There's nothing I figured out. There's nothing I can even do about the stuff that was clouding my brain. There's nothing I can do about that stuff because this is where I am right now. And so why would I let that stuff control me when I have this going on right here, right now? And so it took me a lot of practice. I was terrible at it, but it makes such a difference when you let it go. You can get back to the stuff later. It's all okay. And just be present. Be present in the moment. It changes everything.
It's so true. And you have 5 children. So, I mean, you really, it, to enjoy them. And so many people just go in, it's the motion, they just sort of go in the flow, and they don't get themselves accountable or present, as you mentioned, in the moment, and they don't realize how much they're missing out. And that's exactly what I try to help people do, is through different resources and tools and worksheets that I have. And it's just a matter of saying to myself, saying to any of ourselves, life is short. And why have regrets? Because when we get to the end, and so many people, you read stories, I love to read stories. You read stories about people, they say, why did I complicate things so much? It could have been so much easier. And that's what I found by just not being in the rat race. And yes, I'm not saying to throw away a job that's important. No, that supports the family, that supports your needs. No, that's not what I'm saying. Just find a way to balance. It's all about balance. And if you don't do something and you miss a deadline or something, and I'm responsible and accountable, but you know what? You have to stop beating yourself up. You have to stop making yourself miserable for no apparent gain, because it's not going to really matter a year from now. It's funny how things go. We get ourselves all worked up, and it's so important to us in the moment. And then think about it, a day or two later, it's not intense anymore, because we have that perspective that everything will, even if you have the rough patches, everything will go on. I don't say things always work out, but life will go on. So don't we want to go on with it and enjoy it? Or do we want to be miserable and just be stuck? Why?
Right. So true. So true. And in your book, you give practical tips. You give mantras, like you said, you give things to do with your mind to think a different way. And so, what are some practical tips? If somebody's stuck right now and you're in front of them, what would you tell them they could do to change that mindset, change that way of thinking, and open up a whole new world?
First, I think the most important thing to cultivate is confidence. Confidence can set us free to believe that everything will be okay, to believe that we are enough. Again, another cliche, but these cliches, they come from somewhere. They're important. We are enough. So the first thing to do is reflect. Find a spot that is quiet for you, and write down all the wonderful things about yourself. And don't tell me there's nothing wonderful about. There's wonderful things about all of us. We just have to give ourselves, as you said, Kim, permission to actually give ourselves a hug. Right now, everybody listening, give yourself a hug. And yeah, you're hugging too. We're all hugging. I'm hugging you too. Hearts. And just write down those things that are wonderful about you. And then, just do it at the spur of the moment. Don't make a plan. Don't find ways to procrastinate. Just sit yourself down and start. And then, I like lists. I like writing things down. It's sort of, again, that's why I start each of my double pages with the commitment, because we have to make the commitment to do certain things. and ask ourselves questions. Why are we stuck? What is in the way? Are we worried about how someone's going to judge us? Well, you know what? People are busy. They're really not thinking so hard about us. So just let it go. The judgment, whether it's self or what you think, an imagined evaluation. Because we talk to ourselves, oh, this one thinks this or that. Believe me, they're probably not thinking that. They're probably thinking about their problem, stuff, whatever. And then write down some of the things that would you'd really like to do. Passion, purpose is another way to actually get us out of our comfort zone, to get us out of our own circular thinking and putting ourselves down and everything else. And if you start with that, you have the confidence factor, all the wonderful things about yourself, and then you have all the things that you want to do. That purpose, not so many things, just a few. We all have dreams. My dream was to help others, to get the book into the world, to be able to speak to others and and help my friends. I've been doing this since I was a little one. I just love it. And start with that. And then you could top it off with all the positive things about yourself, not the negative. And always carry in your heart gratitude. Gratitude, it doesn't have to be for the big things because monetary things, that's all that is transitory. It goes away. What's most important is the joy that we could bring others, that we could bring to ourselves. So having that gratitude really helps. So it's the confidence, it's the purpose, passion and joy. It's the positive things about ourselves and then carry that with you and you can really move mountains.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so good. You just delivered all this gold in a couple of minutes, but it's so true. And I love that you said start out with writing all the positive things about yourself because so often we see our flaws and somebody else might see you entirely differently. It can even be a good exercise to ask a friend, ask your best friend, well, what do you see positive about me? If you're coming up dry and having a hard time figuring out what are your positive attributes, who are you really? Not who people say you are, but who are you really? And write it down and then realize that it's going to be a long list. Like you might think it's going to be a short list. If you sit down and determine to do it, it's going to be a long list because there are positive things about every single one of us, like you said, Deborah. And so write those down and then dwell in those and take all the negative ones, crumple them up and throw them in the fire or something like those things that we think about ourselves or those things that we think people are thinking about us when really nobody's really thinking about us. They're thinking about themselves because we're thinking about ourselves, right? It's just the way it is. And so I love that. And gratitude, absolutely. The more we can be grateful for what it is we do have instead of worrying about what we don't have or what somebody else has and just be grateful, doors open up. It's amazing what happens when you have a different mindset, right, Deborah?
Oh my goodness. I started when I was 10, that intention manifestation, and it just continues. I wanted a job when I first started in design. I wanted a job. It's no longer in existence, but it was on 40th Street, right across from Bryant Park, when Bryant Park wasn't like it is today. And I wanted to work at Fieldcrest Mills, pass by the window. Well, guess what? I worked there. So many things in life, if we all think about it, you put your energy and you put effort into your thoughts and what you really want. Again, we go back to purpose and passion. What drives you? And it's interesting because at different points of our lives, different things are more our passion. And that's what I love about my journey is the zig and the zag, because the zig and the zag and trying different things and not being afraid that you're going to fail, call it education and growth, is what brings you to the present, brings you the confidence to know that it will work out. Even if I don't really, I hate that word fail, but even if I fall down, I'm going to learn. And think of it that way as lessons, and then take that as a gift rather than a negative. Make it a gift to be able to propel you forward, to keep going and trying different things, because it's amazing what can happen to each of us. And you know what? Some of you listening might say rubbish, but don't discredit that strategy. This strategy, what Kim and I are talking about, until you really try it. Leave yourself open. No judgment. Get rid of the judgment. Get rid of the circular thinking. Stop your mind the minute it starts. Distract yourself. Whether you exercise, whether you walk, whether you do some work, whether you go have a coffee with a friend, stop yourself from going down the rabbit hole. You really can. We all can. And I've done it, because believe me, I used to be wrapped up in negativity and anger and all those things when I was working. I was exhausted. Sleep, eat right. Food is very important to lift our spirits. It's been proven. Science suggests that the dopamine and the serotonin are in certain foods. Think about it. When you eat healthily, you feel better. When you eat garbage, it makes you sluggish. And it also, when you feel good about yourself, it helps lift the self-esteem. So don't think, oh, I can not sleep, or I can eat just junk. Think about what you're doing to yourself, and be kind to yourself. We gave ourselves hugs. Self-care, self-love, it's not selfish, because as I said before, if you don't take care of yourself, you're really no good to anyone. You're not you don't it's not helpful for anyone else. So it's really important to be kind to ourselves and kind to others, because people that are kind to themselves are usually kind to others.
Yes, because you're practicing it, because it's part of your life. It becomes who you are. It's part of
Bingo.
who you are. And so be kind. I love that. Be kind. Kindness is underrated, I think. Too often we just go, oh, yeah, that was a kind thing to do, or oh, that's nice, whatever. But if you can live in kindness, like if you can just be kind, then you don't judge, and you're not putting people down, and you're not putting yourself down, and the negative has a hard time coming in when you are kind. And so it's a much better way to live, to just live in kindness and joy, and find it, and then stay there and live in it. And I love it. I love everything about your book, everything about you. I love what you're doing. I love that you've got this passion. There's so many people that are, I'm assuming we're about the same age. Maybe you're probably younger than I am,
No,
but
you're younger than I am.
I don't know.
I can fool everybody. I'm not telling you my age, but anyhow, we won't debate it. I'll
Anyway,
tell you. I'll tell you off camera.
all right. Well, I was born in the 60s. That helps anything. So, early 60s. So anyway, but people can get to our age and then decide, well, what's next for me? And look at retirement. Think about retirement. That word even sort of sounds funny to me. But think about retirement like, okay, well, they're going to quit their job and they're going to travel. They're going to whatever, go live in the villages in Florida, whatever it is. And it's almost like that's a decision people make. If that is what's going to bring you joy and make you happy, that's great. But I think too often people lose that sense of purpose, because you go from this title, this person that you're doing all these things, and all of a sudden you're retired and you go to a party and people say, well, what are you doing? And you say, well, I'm retired. Oh, okay. And they go to the next person. They want to hear about a job, or they want to hear about a passion or a something, not just retired, because the way we think about that. So here you are, you could be in that boat. You could just move down to the villages, But instead, you're like, no, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to help people. And you've got a passion to help all people, but including or especially youth. And so I'm curious about that. What is it about youth that this is so important for them?
Repeat that question. I want to hear. Is it, did you say youth or you?
Youth,
Youth.
young people. Yes.
Young. Yes,
Yeah.
youth. Okay.
Yeah.
What's so important about youth? Is that the
Right.
question?
Yeah. That you're driven to help young people.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Right.
I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
I got it. Why? Because I remember how difficult it was to be a teenager, then in your 20s, in your 30s, even in your 40s, because of insecurities, because not having life perspective. Because when you get to be a little more mature, you have life perspective. You know that things will work out, that you shouldn't beat yourself. Well, some people don't learn this lesson, but hopefully more learn it than not. And I'm developing a curriculum. What I want to do is pay it forward. And I don't want to start a nonprofit, but what I want to do is help teens and kids develop self-esteem and go into schools, do different programs, workshops because to give them confidence. Because again, I feel with confidence, when you feel good about yourself, you are kinder. And if you grow up to be a kinder person without so much anger or lashing out at people or whatever, and learning how to manage your emotions, because some days are good and some days are bad, we talked about that, then life will be so much simpler. We complicate, as I said before, we complicate things to a fault. And we many times cause our own problems. And I was guilty of that too. And that's why I want to help younger people. I help older people too, and I help all ages, but especially when they're more adaptable, when they're struggling, whatever their situation, because let's face it, it's not easy growing up. It's especially now. I didn't have the internet and Instagram and all the bullying and everything else. Yes, there was bullying, there always was. But learning how to manage it and to zap those bullies and not in a negative way, but to stop them before they start, you know, because bullies are insecure. It's just, why else do they need to feed their ego to make themselves feel good? Because they have something lacking. And to help people develop, speaking of lacking, and we've been alluding to this, that abundance mindset. There's plenty in this world, plenty of opportunities for all of us. And just believing that, especially when you're young, will open up so many more doors. And that's why it's so important to me.
Yeah, my word. It's so true. And I think about if I knew then what I know now, right? So if kids can learn confidence and they can learn how to have a positive mindset, how to uh, have their energies be helpful and wonderful and in living gratitude and all the right stuff. If you can learn that when you're a kid, you save a whole lot of heartache, disappointment. Like you still are going to go through stuff, but man, it would be a different life if I knew then what I know now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you said it, Kim. And that's why this is so important. And what I've been doing is I tell everybody this, and I thank you for asking me the question, because when we put something out into the world and we say it enough and we have other people believe in us, it will happen. It's again that manifestation, that the intention manifestation. You put it out there, you work towards it, and whether miracles, blessings, the universe aligning, whatever you want to think it is, it will happen. And I ask all of you, any of you listening, please try it. Believe in yourselves and Add confidence to every day and go after your passions. Give yourself a hug every morning. Say a positive affirmation, but don't just say that affirmation. Don't just say the words. Whatever it might be, whatever your intention is for that day, put action behind it. It's so important to put action to our words.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. We talked about how manifestation is was the number one most searched word in 2024. And it is this thing that sometimes people think of it as like this woo woo, kind of a thing. But the reality is the more scientists, whoever find out about us and how we operate, the more we realize, the more they realize that it's all about energy. And it's the energy that you give that you're going to get back. And when you put your mind to something, when you say, I'm gonna do it, this is gonna happen, it's gonna happen, instead of, oh, I wonder if it will, oh my gosh, maybe it won't. But you really uh focus on it, things happen. Things happen. And I love that you said you have to take action. So it's not just going, oh gosh, I'm going to make $1 million this year. I'm going to make $1 million this year. And just saying the words, you have to put the action behind the words. But it starts with the goal. It starts with your intention and what you want to do. So how do people do that in a way that makes sense?
Just start. Just start figuring out. That's why I say we talked about just before making that list. What do you want to do? It's not going to be what somebody else wants to do. What floats your boat? What gets you going and excited in the morning when you get out of bed? I mean, what is it that you really want to do if you didn't have to maybe punch a time clock, so to speak? No matter what your job is we're all sort of programmed. We get up, have coffee, go to work, blah, 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 blah. But what is it that you really want to do? That's why I say making that list about your positive traits and making a list about what your passion and your purpose is and your confidence to do it is so important, because all that together will start you on the journey. And just make that your intention. We talk about living an intentional life. That's what this is about. It's all about being intentional about what you put your energy, that's a big word we're talking about too, is your energy. Where do you focus it? Don't spread it so thin. Focus it on what's important to you. And that's why figuring that out, not having 10 things that you need to do, one thing, maybe a sub thing, one and a sub thing that sort of works together, and focus on that. And that's how you start. And once you put that energy into it, not just dreaming about it, that's just the beginning. You have to go forward and actually take action. And you need a good attitude. You need a positive attitude to be able to do it. Always get up each morning and give yourself a hug and say, you know what? I am enough. Because living the best life, being the best version of yourself, owning your tomorrows, all those cliches, they're there because that is what we need to do to enjoy our lives. Like the New York Lottery slogan says, you gotta be in it to win it. And I urge all of you to do it. My favorite, and then I'll stop so you can comment, is the Jim Carrey story. And that happened so many years ago. He's a big believer. I don't know him, but he's a big believer in manifestation. And what did he do? He wrote a promise check after having a really tough youth, living in a minivan. The dad lost a so-called safe job. That's why we got to take care of ourselves. There's nothing safe in this world. Just go for it. It's like, what are you going to lose? You have to be careful, of course, and everything about your finances. That I truly believe in. We have to take care of ourselves fiscally also. But what he did, he said, his dad wanted to be an actor, comedian, but Carrie wanted this so much, he wrote a promise check to himself for $10 million. And the story goes, and it's true, I think he buried the check with his dad in the dad's casket. But what he was able to do is just by this intention, I think it was Dumb and Dumber, the movie, he got a check for $10 million. So, as I said, don't discredit the strategy before you give it a try. There's something too, like what Kim said about energy out there.
Yeah, it's so true. Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, that has sold over 500 million books, billion with a B. Is that right? I don't know. A gazillion books,
Yeah,
right?
gazillion.
Yeah, I think, it's like there's the Bible and then there's the Chicken Soup series as far as book sales go. Maybe it was I don't know, over 500 million. Anyway, the number doesn't matter. He was turned down by so many publishers, publisher after publisher after publisher, turned down, turned down, turned down. And he just kept going. You hear those stories, right? Where like Lucy Maud Montgomery with Anna Green Gables, she put it up in the attic for a while and decided, I'm going to send it out one more time after getting rejections, and finally got somebody. So it's the not giving up. But Jack did the same thing. He wrote a check, I think it was $1 million, and he put it above his bed. He put it on the ceiling. So he would see it every night and see that check. And it came to pass. And it came to pass over and over and over and over again because it's been so successful. And Jack has written other books and done other things. And because he intended to. And he put it out there in the universe. This is what I want. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And sure enough, it happened. I love the story about Jim Carrey. I mean, it's so true. It's like, go after it. I'm right now. My thing is in September, I'm going with a couple of friends. We're going to do the Camino Trail. And yeah, I know.
You know that I did it.
Oh, you did? Oh
Wait,
my
you're
gosh.
going in September?
Yeah.
I'm doing it for the third time in September. Oh my
Oh,
God, the
oh my
universe
gosh.
is aligning. I'm
It is.
doing the friend. I did the Portuguese and the Francaise, but we're doing the Francaise again. My husband and I, 35 days.
Oh, all right. Well, we're not going to do the whole 35 days.
You're going to do
We're going to do
Saria,
a couple weeks.
Saria to Santiago.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
we
Right.
have to figure a way to meet up.
We do. We do. Yeah, absolutely. So I've wanted to do it. I've wanted to do the Camino Trail. And so I just kept telling friends, hey, I really want to do the Camino Trail. I'm going to do the Camino Trail. Anybody want to do the Camino Trail? I just kept talking about it. And now it's going to come to fruition. We're
I love it.
two friends and I, we're doing it. And we're already talking about getting in shape for it and what you have to do because you'll walk a lot. And
Get
so,
Hoka's.
oh,
They're not
right.
paying me, by the way.
Okay.
Hoka's. We walked it the first time, blisters. People had Hoka. They're so good. They work.
Okay. All right. Well, good.
Not
Good.
hiking boots, Hoka's.
Okay. All right. I'm going to remember that. But it is throwing it out there. Sometimes things can seem like a pipe dream, like, oh, it won't happen. Well, it won't happen if that's your attitude. Chances of it happening really increase when you say it's going to happen, when you put it out there and then you work toward it, because then you naturally go in its direction, whatever it is, and you make it happen. So I love that. It's so good. And you've done the Camino Trail. That is so cool.
I did. Well, that was the thing. My husband said, if I leave J&J because it's making me, it was just too much already. It was me doing it to me, not J&J doing it to me. No, no, no. It was Deborah pushing Deborah. So I just want to say that because I loved working for J&J. I really did. I'm so grateful for that experience. It was really positive. But he said he's always wanted to do it. He'd rip things out of the New York Times and whatever other paper about the Camino, and we hooked up with a group called Spanish Steps, and we did it with them. And then we did with them, they offered it only one time, the 30 some odd days, the Camino Portuguese, which was fabulous because in Portugal they have these boardwalks and we walked by the water, the Atlantic. It was just incredible on the sand and everything was really wonderful. And but my husband had a hankering to do the Française again. Are you going to start and go over the Pyrenees, or are you going to start like we did at the base of the Pyrenees in Roncesvalles?
Well, that's a really good question. I'm not a mountain climber,
Ah,
so so I'm thinking we're going to start on the other side, but we haven't quite decided yet. We're in the fun planning stages of it all, and so I'm excited. We're definitely going to use one of those companies that takes your backpacks to your next
yes,
destination instead of carrying your backpack.
yes.
So we're going to do that for sure. But yeah, so we got to decide yet exactly where we're going to start and how it's going to work. But it's for those of you who don't know what the Camino Trail is, it leads to a church. So 35 days is walking. It's a pilgrimage, really. And you walk and there's a trail and you're going through cities sometimes you're going through the country, things your view changes, whatever. You're going over hills, you're going down hills, you're going wherever. But it's the whole idea of starting it and getting to the end. And when you walk that much a day, things are going to happen in your mind and things are going to happen for you. So, what did you find was really beneficial doing the Camino Trail?
And just to backtrack 1 second, is this is a pilgrimage from the Middle Ages. And just like the shell that with all the ridges, the whole point is every road, and you'll get your shell, every road leads to Santiago de Compostela, where this magnificent church is, and that St. James bones are supposedly buried there. And you touch the St. James statue when you get there, and it's just a really good feeling. You get your Compostela, which if you just have to walk, I forget what the small amount of miles is, and it's from Sarria to Santiago de Compostela. Some people go over the Pyrenees and start in France, but there's many different ways to get there. People do it from many different places as a starting point, depending on what they choose. So the question is, what did I do when I was there, or just repeat
Yeah.
the question
What
because I
what did
went
it do
into
for you? What
what did it do? Oh, well, what I loved about it was it got me in the right frame of mind to start the journey, because this was at the beginning before I actually started really writing. Well, I had written my guidebook, but I had to take the next step. And I wanted to find people that I could actually help, and I wanted to develop the daily decisions, the positive energy club as a membership and everything. And that was just walking all those days, just being in touch with nature, and then being around other people, having a drink in the evening, a nice glass of wine. Oh my God, I wonder if you're going to wind up this place. I forget exactly where. I have to send you a picture. There's this um, fountain. It's not a fountain. It's in the wall, and you pull the lever. We get there at like 8:30 in the morning, and it has an endless supply of red wine. And you'll see, because you're in September, they're harvesting, they're picking the grapes and everything. You'll see all of them on the trucks and everything. But so you have all these experiences, but it gives you the time to slow down, get in touch with yourself, think about your purpose, passion, what makes you so wonderful, what you can do for other people, all the good things in your life. And that's what people do. And people make lifelong friends when they walk it. And it's just a marvelous experience. And I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for my husband, because I didn't realize. And look, we're going on our third time. There has to be something to it, because believe me, it's pretty grueling when you're walking like 20 miles a day. It's in kilometers and everything, but you can walk. Some days we walk 20 miles. It's a lot. And you're not walking necessarily. The French route is tougher. The Portuguese is more flat, except by Ponte de Lima. But you have to get yourself able to do it, but you also have to know when to take a break. And that's so true for life. You can't push yourself to exhaustion. you have to stop and smell the roses. One of the people on our group, we were walking along and there was all these roses. And she said, come on, let's just stop and smell the roses, which is just really what we all need to do. We don't have all these endless vacations when we're working, but we can choose what we want to do that's going to lift us up, going to touch our soul, maybe change us in a way for the better. And that's what the Camino did for me.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fabulous. And any book that I've read where people talk about their experience or podcast or show or whatever, it's always a life-changing experience. And that's what you're all about is changing lives to the positive and getting rid of the negative and making life what it should be. And we get to be happy. We get to choose to be happy and we get to be happy. And so it's so beautiful. It's so great. We are at the end of our time. I cannot believe it because it went by way too fast. But I'd love for you to tell everybody, where can they find you? Where can they find your book? Tell whatever you want to tell. Go for it.
Okay, thank you. So, the daily decisions with an S, the daily, DAILY, DECISIONS, it's up there, .com. And if you go to thedailydecisions.com/inspire, you can join my positive energy club and get free, well, complimentary worksheets on happiness and motivation and feel good activities. And even if you don't buy the book, but I am going to launch at the end of January the paperback and the hardcover. Since Kim read it, we smoothed it out a bit, my editor and I, and it's now on Amazon just as an ebook. But I would say wait till the end of January and pick up a copy of the paperback or the hardcover, and I think it will touch your heart because, as Kim said, it's not a chapter book. It's double pages of inspiration and things that you'll stop and think about and say, you know what, I can do this. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted more instant gratification, visuals, short words like revision is a decision or quench your desire's thirst, don't water it down. I wanted to do that for people because that's how we learn. Things that could stick in our mind that we could pull out of a hat when we need to calm ourselves down
Mhm.
or we need to get ourselves out of a hard situation or stop the circular thinking. So please, and send me an email. I'd love to chat with you anytime. I love to lift people up. It's the reason I went into sales, to be able to chat. It was more admin than chatting, but now I get to chat and I just really love it. So thedailydecisions.com and thedailydecisions.com/inspire for the worksheets and 6 steps to fewer days that suck. And who doesn't need that? Ditch unhealthy habits, unzip because there's a zipper on the cover. Unzip a happier you. And we won't be happy every single minute of every day, but we control our thoughts and actions. Love you
Mhm.
all. Yay. Thank you,
And
Kim.
with that, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you for joining us. And thank you so much, Deborah, for being here, my new best friend. Thank
Yes.
you for joining us, everybody. And until we see each other again, be blessed.